I think they can probably get 2 or 3 more. I think they can probably get Snyder at least on the ballot. Not Snyder, I'm sorry, they all look alike to me. Walker on the ballot. Whether they can beat him or not, I don't know. But the Democrats there are very much worked up. I would also say that the 2 states offer a very interesting contrast to one another. In Michigan, the rallies we've seen for recall, I've seen quite a bit of enthusiasm for the recall movement, but they finally collected less than half the number of signatures, even by their own count, that they needed. Well, in Michigan, if there are 5,000 people at a rally, that is an awfully big rally. Now, Wisconsin is about half the size of Michigan, and they have had rallies in which 100,000 people showed up. Okay, they didn't bust them in. They didn't send all the union officials down there for the day. They didn't schedule it so that it dovetailed with some other event. They just held a rally to gripe about Walker, and 100,000 people showed up in Madison. Well, 100,000 people in a state that only needs 400,000 signatures to put him on the ballot. We'll see if the enthusiasm has cooled off, but I don't think it has. I think they're going to get him on the ballot. I think they're going to get virtually the entire Republican delegation of the Assembly on the ballot. I think they're going to get 5, 6, 7 more people from the state Senate on the ballot. And then they're going to have this wave of recall elections, and they're going to knock off a bunch of them. That's what I think is going to happen. I think that in Wisconsin, the Democrats taste blood, and in Michigan, we just don't have that phenomenon at all. I think Michigan, we're going to see the Paul Scott recall as the high watermark of the recall movement. Whether they get him removed from office or not, it doesn't change the control of the body, and it's going to be the end of the recall. I mean, maybe the Republicans can actually manage to pick off a Democrat or 2, but I don't think the Democrats are going to get anybody else. In Wisconsin, what they had was the wolves got a couple of deer in that first attack, and boy, the rest of the deer are looking nervous and they're looking juicy, and the wolves are thinking, they're trading recipes, and they're looking forward to a mighty nice venison dinner. It's very interesting that recall has somehow gotten in the water. It's not just recall elections for members of the legislature or talk about recalling Snyder. All over the state, everybody's first instinct in dealing with almost any political issue is to say, well, let's recall him. And so you got city council members, and you got school board members, and you got township trustees, and township supervisors, and drain commissioners, and county clerks, and lordy, they're going after everybody. And both sides are doing it. It tells me that the public attitude is just mean, and there are just all over the place. There are recall elections, there are petitions being circulated, and it's not one group of people pushing them. It's people who are mad about the way they treated the libraries, or mad about the new tax for the libraries, or mad about the person who conducted the study for the libraries to determine whether the libraries should be consolidated. And there must be 100 separate recall disputes going on in Michigan. And 5 years ago, there probably weren't, at this same time, there probably weren't 5 serious recall movements going on. Now, I don't think all the current ones will get on the ballot, but everywhere I deal with people, I discover that somebody is trying to recall a county commissioner in some little county, that somebody is trying to recall the entire city council of some small city, that there's mumbling about recalling school board members because of the way they treated the superintendent. And I don't know, it'd be interesting to see if that stays, or if this is a wave that sort of breaks and passes and disappears. It would not surprise me if the legislature throws a wrench in the spokes, let me get the metaphor right, and screws up the recall law by making it impossible to use. It'd be the sort of thing that this legislature would do once it realized that, especially if Paul Scott is removed, once they realize that they have a self-interest in blocking it. they'll find some highfalutin reason to interfere with the recall process. And I don't know if that's good or bad for democracy. Probably bad for PPC, because we seem to be making a fair amount of money off both encouraging and discouraging recalls. I think that the 5,000 people who circulated petitions are a very disparate lot. I think that some of them are competent, useful volunteers. Some of them are people on paid positions and union staffs. Some of them are people connected with national politics who kind of parachuted in to help. Some people are people who have been toiling in the vineyards for decades already, in democratic and progressive causes. And some of them have been communing with aliens from outer space and have been calling the office of the city council to complain that the neighbor is a Martian. And recall elections kind of bring out a wide range of people. And I'd say that those people will go back to their normal statuses, to their previous statuses when this is over. The one thing that won't change is that somebody has collected a lot of names, and probably those names are not going to be lost or misplaced. I suspect that from the beginning, the Snyder recall was maybe more about collecting names and less about removing the governor. I like to conclude this, though, the way I conclude almost every affidavit I say, or my transcripts. Further deponent saith not. Okay. Is that boring enough?